welcome back to an episode of Compliance. I'm Darshini, and today we are diving into a topic that's going to impact businesses in Belgium and beyond. That is e-invoicing. Belgium is taking a huge leap in digitalizing its e-invoicing process, and that means big changes are on the horizon for VAT compliance. If you're based in Belgium or dealing with Belgian clients, this episode is your essential guide to understanding what's coming. A key part of this transformation is the Peppol network. But what exactly is Peppol and why should you care? Today we are going to break down everything you should know about Peppol four corner model and how it works, how you can implement Belgium e-invoicing easier, why it is so important for your compliance journey in Belgium. And of course, I'm not alone today. I'm joined by our in house expert on everything related to e invoicing and regulatory frameworks. How are you, Siddharth?
Hey Lakshmi, great. Thanks for having me here. So, how are you?
Wonderful. There's so much happening in the world of e invoicing, and understanding how PayPal fits into all of this is the key. But before we dive into the details, please subscribe to our channel, and it's free. This would help us provide more valuable content on e invoicing. Now, let's dive in. One question businesses are asking right now is why is Belgium adopting e invoicing? And why now?
So Belgium is adopting e-invoicing as part of the greater digitalization push in the EU countries. So, if you see, most of the European Union countries are using Peppol for delivering e-invoices. So, Belgium is also trying to adopt this Peppol for delivering e-invoices to reduce tax frauds, to increase the business efficiencies, and to facilitate and transform the digitalization process for businesses. It will be very easy for businesses to transfer invoices within the country as well as cross-border invoices coming forward. That is after implementing the e-invoicing. So this is majorly a digitalization push by the government as well as that is to align with the European Union countries.
Got it. So, because EU countries are all adopting e invoicing, so is Belgium doing the same thing.
Exactly. So Belgium is trying to fit in with other EU countries and facilitate trade and transaction in the European nations.
Now that we have talked about why Belgium is adopting e invoicing, now the big question is when should businesses start implementing e invoicing?
So you see, e-invoicing is not alien for Belgium. Belgium has mandated B2G transactions. So if you see, there are three types of transactions totally. That is B2G, B2B, and B2C transactions, which is businesses to government, business to business, and business to customer. So Belgium has already mandated B2G transactions from March 2024. So from January 2026, they are mandating B2B invoices. So after this, B2C, still now B2C is not mandated, but in future, B2C will also be mandated. So Belgium has already mandated B2B and now they are just mandating the B2B process.
Why is there a delay for the private sector?
Yes, so if you see for the government sector and businesses which are dealing with governments, they have already mandated because they can easily see and verify the system whether it's working or not. So as they are governed by the government and the government is implementing e-invoicing, they have a proper visualization of how this e-invoicing can play out and they can implement it easily for B2B afterwards. So they went live with B2G e-invoicing first and now, because they have proper structure and a system and a working environment for e-invoicing, they are now mandating it for B2B invoices. And in future, when B2B has also stabilized, they will implement it for B2C invoices.
I see you have mentioned about PayPal. What exactly is PayPal and why are many countries adopting PayPal for e invoicing? And recently, I have also noticed that non EU countries have also adopted PayPal.
Peppol stands for Pan-European Public Procurement Online. So this is a non-profit organization established in the EU for facilitating e-invoicing. So Peppol is nothing but a standard of an e-invoice which is accepted throughout the EU and now it's getting accepted throughout the world because of its ease and simplicity. So what Peppol does is Peppol has a parent organization called Open Peppol, which maintains a network of all businesses which needs to get registered in Peppol network for ease of finding and transmitting e-invoices. For example, you can assume Open Peppol as a network of highways, and Peppol is a standard which determines which types of e-invoices is passed through those networks. That is, they have standardized which type of vehicles should pass through this highway. So only if the invoice is in a Peppol standard, that is, a particular type of car is allowed in the highway. And Peppol, which is a standard format of invoice, determines which type of invoices passes through this network. That is, you can assume PayPal as the type of car which is fixed, and only these types of car is allowed in this highway network. So in this way, the invoices are transmitted throughout the world or throughout the PayPal network in a single format, so that any business can interpret it easily and it can transmit to any country in a standard way. So in this way, Peppol is trying to standardize the e-invoicing process throughout the world. And as it is very easy and simple to adapt, many countries are adopting Peppol and also building upon Peppol for their own convenience.
I guess what Peppol is doing is truly amazing for businesses. But what are the operational and financial benefits can businesses expect from Peppol?
Yes. So the major thing that business can expect is digitalization of information. So before using PayPal or before e-invoicing, everything was manual. That is, the invoice has to be manually printed, or they were using PDFs, which still was a manual process because even after sending the PDF, a person has to manually enter all the details into their ERP in order to get the information and convert it into a digital format for calculations or reports or other. So this process is digitalized using a e-invoice. And using this e-invoice, governments listen to this e-invoice to avoid tax fraud from businesses and also to implement schemes for many businesses in order to improve the economy of that country or for that sector. So in this way, for both the government as well as the businesses, there are advantages for implementing e-invoices.
That sounds like a game changer. But there are some challenges for businesses, especially with the transition from legacy systems. Can you walk us through that?
Yes, so many businesses which use legacy system face problems in data gaps or while integration. So most legacy systems do not have proper data which is required for standardization of the invoices. And to add this data in the database, there needs to be so much of implementation of, yes, in case of businesses using legacy systems, they majorly face problems in either lack of data for standardization or while implementation. The lack of data has to be addressed because only if the proper data is available, that is the proper invoice data is available, we can standardize it according to the PEPPOL regulations or standards. And the second problem which they face is with the integration. So most of the times, integrating with a legacy system is very difficult for any service provider. So to integrate it to the proper access point for PayPal, it becomes very difficult for legacy system businesses, or they might even be required for upgrading the ERP in order to integrate with the access point.
So we saw what is Peppol and its benefits. So how does Peppol work in Belgium? What platform are they using?
Yes. So as I already mentioned, Belgium went live with B2G e-invoicing back in 2024. So while implementing B2G e-invoicing, they were using a platform called Mercurius, which replicated something which was something similar to the PayPal network. They were using this Mercurius platform to implement e-invoicing and to transfer B2G e-invoices. Now they are completely shifting it into the PayPal network as it is a commonly accepted network throughout the EU and it is easy to implement as well in larger scale. So the Belgian government is implementing the PayPal standard through a four-corner model. And in future, they might convert this into a five-corner model if the government wants to listen to the e-invoicing transaction. So the four corner model is a very simple model where each of the corner represents either a supplier, access point, and a buyer. So there are two access points and a supplier and a buyer, which makes four corner model. So starting with the supplier, he's the person or business. The supplier is the business which creates the e-invoice through their ERP or accounting software. So they transmit this invoice data to the access point. This access point converts it into a Peppol standard e-invoice, validates it, and sends it to the second access point, which is the access point of the buyer. This access point then verifies it and in turn gives it back to the buyer ERP in their acceptable format. So this is the four corner model that Belgium is adapting for Peppol e-invoice.
So this will make it easy for businesses to send e-invoices through the Peppol four-corner model. To help you navigate through this process, we have created a comprehensive booklet that outlines everything you need to know about Belgian e-invoicing and the Peppol compliance. Download it today and ensure your team is fully prepared for the transition. Now, moving on, here's the question. But how can businesses get their system ready for Peppol? And what are the challenges they might be facing doing so? How can businesses get ready for Peppol or the Belgian e-invoicing? How do they prepare for this?
So businesses need to consider few things before getting ready for Peppol e-invoicing. The first thing is the clarity of the master data. That is, whatever data is used for invoicing has to be very clear, and all the data necessary for the PEPAL standard has to be maintained. So, clearing and maintaining a proper master data is the first step. And the second step is the ERP compatibility with the access point. The access point which you are choosing has to be compatible with your ERP, and whatever you push from your ERP has to be accepted by the access point, and access point has to transmit it to the PayPal network. So this compatibility should be taken care of. And the third thing is you have to onboard your business into the PayPal network. That will be mostly handled by your service provider or your access point. In most of the cases, countries mandate archival of e-invoices, and sometimes this archival is not done by the access point. So you have to take care whether you are doing the archival or the access point which you have chosen is doing the archival for you. So these are the few things that businesses have to keep in mind before adapting Peppol e-invoicing.
So, now that we have discussed the common challenges businesses have faced, let's talk about how transitioning to e invoicing, especially with Peppol, requires more than just a technical shift. What should businesses keep in mind when managing this change?
So the main thing the businesses need to focus on for this change is to appoint a proper team with the proper leadership for e-invoicing. So you have to first form an internal team with a proper leader, and the team member should be from a proper departments concerned with e-invoicing, that is related to IT, tax, and finance. So with these members and the leadership established, they have to first select an access point, and then they have to also do a gap analysis and an impact analysis for their business. Through the gap analysis, they can figure out the gaps in the e-invoicing data, and through impact analysis, they can analyze the changes required in the organization to implement e-invoicing. So after completing these steps, the team has to invest in training and educating people involved with e-invoicing activities. And they should also be ready for future updates or mandates given by the government. That is like implementing B2C and other different mandates or requirements which the government mandates in the future. So, with these steps and these processes in line, the businesses can easily handle going live with e-invoicing or going live with PayPal e.
You have to say Compliance is a certified e invoicing provider for Belgium. Okay.
ஆனா கொஸ்டின் வந்து நீங்க எப்படி இருக்குன்னா can you share how businesses can implement?
Okay, Anna, I could say it like this all seems a lot that businesses need to do. Is there a way that businesses can make this process a lot more relatively easier? அந்த மாதிரி வேணா சொல்லலாம்.
Okay.
Okay. But Siddharth, all you have said, okay. But Siddharth, everything you said seems like a lot to do. Can you share a simpler way to get e-invoicing done?
Yes. So what businesses can do is they can select a proper access point like Compliance. So if you see Compliance provides a simple SDK, that is software development kit, which they can install in any ERP or accounting software or even legacy ERPs. With this SDK, they can push the invoice payload to the compliance platform with a single click. And in the compliance platform, we have given an integration engine. We can easily automate the e-invoicing fields that are in the ERP without any change directly to the Peppol e-invoicing fields, which are required by the government or mandated by the government using a single click. The fields are auto-mapped and no manual mapping or long developer hours are needed. And even if you are expanding to other EU countries, you need not find a different access point or you need not find a different service provider in order to comply with that country. Because as we have multi-country adoption and we can easily make you go live with e-invoicing in multiple countries as well. All the invoice data which is handled by compliance is properly encrypted and archived as per the government rules and standards. We also continuously monitor and validate e-invoices as per the government rules. All the e-invoices handled by compliance is pre-validated before submitting it to the government. And in case of any errors during validation, we give out easily readable error messages for you to rectify the invoice data and submit back to government without any penalties. So all the invoices handled by compliance is validated before submitting it to the government. In case of any errors during validation, we notify you with easily readable error messages so that you can rectify those errors and then it to the government.
So, what's one hard truth you have seen when it comes to e invoicing in Belgium?
So what most companies get it wrong is if they are implementing e-invoicing in Peppol standard in one country, they can easily adapt it the same process or the same method for another country like Belgium. So this is not the case. As the governments have different VAT structures and different schema which the government will mandate, there's slight difference and in some cases there is huge difference in implementation which needs to be dealt in a proper way in order to implement smooth e-invoicing. So this is one of the major problems that I have seen happen for many companies.
Siddharth, so we know that Belgium has strict e invoicing regulations. But can you walk us through the specific penalties businesses might face if they fail to comply with these new rules, especially regarding the use of Peppol Biz network?
Yes, so the government has mandated e-invoicing and failing to abide by this mandate will lead to penalties. So in case of Belgium, the government has given penalties for violations of these mandates. So for the first violation of e-invoicing mandate, the penalty is of 1,500 euros, and for the second violation, it's 3,000 euros, and for the subsequent violations, it's 5,000 euros. And post which they are and for these violations, the government will give up to 3 months for them to rectify and then go live in a proper way. Failing which, there will be subsequent penalties for the companies.
Belgium isn't just updating its invoicing system, it's creating a new standard. Invoices will no longer be a static document. They'll be a dynamic data that is visible to the regulators in real time. And Belgium isn't the only one making this shift. From UAE to France, Poland, and beyond, countries are all adopting e invoicing at full speed. The successful businesses, and it's crucial for businesses to start preparing right now so that they'll be successful with the e invoicing. Episode was helpful. Pass it along to your team. I'm Darshini, and this is Compliance. See you next time.